This video covers the best time to visit, how to get there, where to stay, top 10 attractions, and pro tips. You might come to Key Largo for the water, but you'll probably leave remembering the places most tourists drive right past. Sure, this island is famous for snorkeling, diving, and boating. But to me, the real magic is in the hidden nature spots, wildlife encounters, and local experiences that many visitors never take the time to discover. And if you only stick to the obvious tourist activities, it's surprisingly easy to miss some of what makes Key Largo so special. So in today's video, we're counting down the top 10 things to do in Key Largo, from underwater adventures and tropical escapes to unique experiences you won't find anywhere else in the Keys. And one of the top spots on this list isn't a beach, a boat tour, or a snorkeling trip, but it might end up being the highlight of your entire visit. If you're looking for the best overall weather, November through April is usually the sweet spot. Temperatures are comfortable, humidity is lower, and conditions are ideal for boating, kayaking, snorkeling, and exploring outdoors. Getting around Key Largo is fairly simple, but having a car is highly recommended. Most attractions are spread out along the overseas highway, and driving gives you the flexibility to explore your own pace without relying on tours or transportation services. As for where to stay, the central part of Key Largo is the most convenient for first-time visitors since it's close to restaurants, marinas, dive operators, and many of the island's top attractions. If you're looking for something quieter, the northern end of Key Largo tends to feel a little more laid back and less busy. Let's start with a hidden side of Key Largo that many visitors never see. Before Key Largo became famous for snorkeling, diving, and waterfront resorts, much of the island looked a lot like this. If you're looking for a quieter side of the Keys, Dagny Johnson Key Largo Hammock Botanical State Park is one of the best places to experience it. This protected park covers more than 2,000 acres and preserves one of the largest remaining tracts of tropical hardwood hammock forest in the United States. In simple terms, it's a chance to see a side of the Florida Keys that many visitors never take the time to explore. What I really like about this place is how different it feels from the rest of Key Largo. Instead of boats, marinas, and busy waterfront attractions, you'll find peaceful trails, dense tropical vegetation, native wildlife, and an atmosphere that feels surprisingly untouched. I've found that many travelers associate the Florida Keys almost entirely with the ocean. But places like this remind you that there's an entirely different ecosystem here that's just as interesting. The park is especially good for nature lovers, bird watchers, photographers, and anyone looking to escape the crowds for a while. One thing I've noticed is that the trails tend to be much quieter than many of the area's more famous attractions, which makes the experience feel even more relaxing. My advice would be to visit during the morning hours when temperatures are cooler and wildlife activity is often at its best. And if you're the kind of traveler who enjoys discovering places that most tourists overlook, this is exactly the type of hidden gem that can make a trip more memorable. After learning about Key Largo's natural history, let's move to a place where you can simply slow down and enjoy the scenery. Harry Harris Park isn't one of the most famous attractions in the Florida Keys, and honestly, that's part of its appeal. Located on the quieter side of Key Largo, this waterfront park offers beautiful ocean views, picnic areas, walking paths, and a protected swimming area that's especially popular with families. What I really like about this place is that it feels local. While many visitors spend their entire trip chasing the biggest attractions, Harry Harris Park gives you a chance to experience the slower, more relaxed side of island life. I've found that some of the most memorable travel moments happen when you're not rushing between landmarks. Sitting by the water, watching boats pass by, and enjoying the ocean breeze can sometimes be just as rewarding as any major attraction. Families appreciate the calm swimming area, while couples and solo travelers often enjoy the peaceful atmosphere and scenic views. My advice would be to visit later in the afternoon when the temperatures begin to cool and the lighting becomes perfect for photos. And if you're looking for a place that captures the laid-back spirit of Key Largo, this is a great place to start. If you ask me, this is where Key Largo starts to feel truly special. Most visitors see the Florida Keys from the road or from a boat. But kayaking through the mangrove trails allows you to experience a completely different side of the island. One that feels quieter, more intimate, and surprisingly untouched. As you paddle through narrow tunnels formed by mangrove trees, the atmosphere changes almost immediately. Traffic noise disappears, crowds fade away, and you're surrounded by calm water, wildlife, and winding natural pathways. What surprised me most the first time I explored a mangrove ecosystem like this is how peaceful it feels. Even though you're often just minutes away from busy roads and marinas, it can feel like you're in another world entirely. Along the way, you may spot fish, birds, crabs, and other wildlife that many visitors never notice from land. This experience is especially good for nature lovers, photographers, birdwatchers, and travelers who enjoy active outdoor adventures. One thing I found is that people often remember this experience far longer than they expect. It's not the most famous attraction in Key Largo, but often becomes one of the most memorable. My advice would be to go during the morning when temperatures are cooler and wildlife activity tends to be higher. And while the mangroves show you one side of Key Largo's natural beauty, the next few attractions are where the island starts to reveal why it's known around the world as one of the best places for marine adventures. If you've ever wanted to get up close to dolphins, Key Largo is one of the best places in Florida to do it. Dolphins Plus offers a variety of experiences that allow visitors to interact with dolphins in a more educational and respectful environment than many people expect. Depending on the program you choose, you can observe them from the water, participate in interactive experiences, or simply learn more about these incredibly intelligent animals. What I like about this attraction is that it goes beyond the typical photo opportunity. The focus is also on education and understanding dolphin behavior. I've found that experiences like this often become core memories for families. Kids especially tend to talk about it long after the vacation is over. This attraction is best for families, animal lovers, and first-time visitors looking for a unique experience. The only thing I'd recommend is booking ahead. Popular sessions can fill up quickly, especially during peak travel seasons. And while dolphins are one of the Keys' most famous residents, they're not the only wildlife worth seeing. For something a little quieter and much more local, the Florida Keys Wild Bird Rehabilitation Center is a hidden gem that many visitors never discover. This nonprofit organization cares for injured and rescued birds from throughout the Keys, and visitors can walk through the sanctuary to see many of the birds that are recovering or unable to return to the wild. What surprised me most is how peaceful the experience feels. You're not walking through a crowded attraction or a commercial exhibit. Instead, you're learning about local wildlife while supporting an organization that's doing meaningful conservation work. You'll often see pelicans, owls, hawks, herons, and other species that are part of everyday life in the Florida Keys. To me, this is exactly the type of place that helps travelers connect with a destination on a deeper level. It's especially good for nature lovers, photographers, and anyone looking for something different from the typical tourist attractions. My advice would be to take your time here. It's not a place to rush through. Now, we're getting to one of the attractions that helped put Key Largo on the map. John Pennekamp Coral Reef State Park was America's first underwater park, and for many visitors, it's the reason they come to Key Largo in the first place. Whether you choose snorkeling, scuba diving, glass-bottom boat tours, kayaking, or simply relaxing by the water, there are countless ways to experience this incredible park. What makes it special is the coral reef system just offshore. The clear water and diverse marine life create some of the best snorkeling and diving opportunities anywhere in the continental United States. I've found that even travelers who aren't experienced snorkelers often end up loving this place. Seeing colorful fish and coral formations in person feels very different from seeing photos online. This attraction works for almost everyone because there are activities for every comfort level. If you're visiting Key Largo for the first time, I'd actually recommend putting this near the top of your itinerary. The only downside is that weather conditions occasionally affect water activities, so having a flexible schedule helps. If you're looking for the classic Florida Keys sunset experience, the Caribbean Club is hard to beat. This historic waterfront spot has been welcoming visitors for decades and remains one of the most beloved places in Key Largo to end the day. What I really like about this place is that it doesn't try too hard. There are no elaborate productions or flashy attractions. It's simply a relaxed waterfront setting where people gather to enjoy good food, cold drinks, live music, and one spectacular sunset. As the sun begins to drop toward the horizon, the entire atmosphere changes. Boats drift through the water, the sky turns shades of orange and pink, and everyone seems to slow down for a while. To me, this is one of those experiences that perfectly captures the laid-back personality of the Florida Keys. It's great for couples, solo travelers, groups of friends, and honestly, just about anyone visiting the area. My advice would be to arrive a little early and grab a good waterfront seat before sunset crowds start to build. And honestly, this is where the list gets really interesting. The next 3 experiences are the reason many travelers fall in love with Key Largo and keep coming back year after year. And remember that unexpected attraction I mentioned earlier? We're getting very close to it now, and it's unlike anything else on this list. If the name sounds familiar, there's a good reason for that. The African Queen is the actual steamboat made famous by the classic 1951 film starring Humphrey Bogart and Katharine Hepburn. But even if you've never seen the movie, this is still one of the most unique experiences in Key Largo. Instead of boarding another sightseeing boat, you're stepping onto a piece of Hollywood and maritime history. The cruise takes you through local canals and waterways at a relaxed pace, offering a completely different perspective of Key Largo. What surprised me most is how personal the experience feels. The boat is relatively small, the atmosphere is relaxed, and it feels more like a special outing than a typical tourist attraction. I've found that even people who don't care much about classic films end up enjoying the ride because it's simply a fun way to spend time on the water. This experience is especially good for couples, history lovers, movie fans, and anyone looking for something a little different from snorkeling or diving. My advice would be to book ahead if you're visiting during peak season, because available seats can fill surprisingly quickly. And while the African Queen gives you a glimpse into Key Largo's history, the next 2 experiences showcase what made this destination famous around the world. Now we're moving into something that truly sets Key Largo apart from many other Florida destinations. The Spiegel Grove is one of the most famous shipwreck dive sites in the world. Originally built for the U.S. Navy, this massive vessel was intentionally sunk off the coast of Key Largo to create an artificial reef. Over time, it transformed into a thriving underwater ecosystem filled with marine life. What makes this site so impressive is its sheer size. Even experienced divers often talk about needing multiple dives to fully appreciate it. Schools of fish, coral growth, and the enormous structure itself create an experience that's difficult to find elsewhere in the United States. To me, this is one of those attractions that helps explain why Key Largo earned its reputation as the diving capital of the world. Now, this attraction is mainly for certified divers or those pursuing advanced diving experiences, so it's not for everyone. But even if you're not a diver, knowing that attractions like this exist just offshore gives you a greater appreciation for the incredible underwater world surrounding the Keys. I've found that many divers consider this a bucket list experience, and after seeing photos and videos of the site, it's easy to understand why. And while the Spiegel Grove is world famous among divers, the number 1 spot on this list is something almost every visitor can experience. Taking the top spot is Molasses Reef. If someone asked me for the single experience that best represents Key Largo, this would probably be my answer. Located within the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary, Molasses Reef is one of the most famous coral reef systems in North America and one of the best places in Florida for snorkeling and diving. The water here is often remarkably clear, and beneath the surface you'll find colorful coral formations, tropical fish, sea fans, rays, and countless other marine species. What I really like about Molasses Reef is that it delivers the experience people imagine when they think about the Florida Keys. The photos look incredible, the videos look incredible, and once you're actually in the water, it somehow feels even better. I've found that even first-time snorkelers are often amazed by how much marine life they can see in such a short amount of time. This attraction works for snorkelers, divers, photographers, families, and almost anyone who wants to experience the natural beauty that made Key Largo famous. My advice would be to book a reputable snorkeling or dive charter and choose a day with good weather conditions. Visibility can make a huge difference in the overall experience. And quick heads up, I've added some of my favorite travel essentials in the description that can make your trip a lot easier. Definitely worth a quick look. If you only have time for one signature Key Largo adventure, I've found that Molasses Reef is about as close to a must-do experience as you'll find. If snorkeling or diving is high on your priority list, try to schedule those activities early in your trip rather than on your final day. Weather and water conditions can occasionally affect tours, and having flexibility gives you a better chance of finding ideal conditions. For popular experiences like the African Queen Cruise, dolphin encounters, and reef excursions, booking in advance is almost always worth it, especially during the winter and spring travel season. One thing I've noticed is that many visitors treat Key Largo as a quick stop on the way to Key West. Personally, I think that's a mistake. Spending at least 2 or 3 nights here allows you to enjoy the destination without feeling rushed. If you're planning to kayak through the mangroves, morning trips are usually more comfortable. Temperatures are cooler, wildlife is often more active, and you'll avoid the strongest afternoon sun. And if you're driving the overseas highway, leave extra time in your schedule. Some of the best moments in the Florida Keys happen when you stop unexpectedly at scenic viewpoints, waterfront restaurants, or hidden local spots along the way. At the end of the day, Key Largo is about much more than beautiful water. To me, what makes this place special is the variety of experiences packed into one relatively small island. You can explore coral reefs, paddle through mangrove forests, encounter wildlife, enjoy historic cruises, and watch unforgettable sunsets, all in the same trip. I've found that the best Key Largo vacations happen when you mix the famous attractions with a few lesser-known experiences. That's usually where the most memorable moments are found. If you choose the right activities, it's easy to understand why so many travelers consider Key Largo one of the highlights of the entire Florida Keys. If you found this guide helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more travel videos just like this. And let me know in the comments which Key Largo experience would be at the top of your list. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.